Many times in general life and also in business management, locally or internationally, many times you will get some ideas, uh, but then you would have to convince other people that they would have to bring them on board, make your pitch, because many times the bigger the project is, it it is better if you are doing with other people in teamwork. If you are doing it alone, then it's not maybe a lot of feasibility maybe is not there. So that is why people, for bigger projects, they want to work with other groups, teams, and so on. There are some positives of that, there are some negatives of that, and especially in international business management, you are looking at different cultures, different nationalities, different people coming from different backgrounds. You are working together across countries, and then you have some ideas and you would have to convince other people. Yeah, sometimes it is maybe easy to convince other people. You would have to, but for that you would have to hone your skills, your speaking skills, your how persuasive you are, and so on. But many times in life you must have seen, based off your experience, and if you reflect on it please, is that some people don't listen to what you are saying. You make some point, and no matter, even forget about business management for a bit. Just think about, reflect in your life with your friends, families, colleagues, university, work, whatever you want to think about. You have some idea, you have something in mind, you make your pitch, but the other persons, for one reason or another, they disregard your pitch. uh, Sometimes you would have to make presentations at work to convince other people that is this a good idea which I am thinking about, and so on. And you would see that uh, the more success people get, sometimes it happens, is that not always, sometimes it happens that with the success, more and more success, and as their likability is increasing in their cohort, in their crowds, they become very certain, very sure about themselves, because the things they are doing, they are ticking, they are working, so they would want to think that whatever they are doing is going to work out. In those circumstances, to convince that type of personality becomes a little bit harder, because of their success, because of their achievements. They would want to think, rightly so also, that they know what they are doing. But still, it is all about teamwork. Ideas come in from diversification. uh, Different people view at same things very differently. So if you have that personality which can take other people's ideas and so on, it might help them. But anyways, coming back to what I really want to hone in, and uh, really want you to reflect on, is that in a nutshell, there will be some people who would not be very easily persuaded. So what are some of the things which we can do with people who are, maybe because of different reasons, because of, you can call it overconfident, you can call it their track record, the successes they have gotten, whatever you want to call it. Uh, what can we do to persuade the unpersuadable? That is where I would want you to reflect on. So don't just stick to what is in the article and how I would elaborate on the things. Think and reflect on your own experiences. Think about the situations where you are trying to convince someone, anyone, even if you don't have work experience, nothing to really worry about. Your in your family, or how are your parents? Are they guardians, brothers, sisters, friends? They easily listen to you, or you have to really, they are unpersuadable, or whatever your experiences. It is best to learn from your own experiences, because you can relate with that. So let's start looking at this very fascinating article published in Harvard Business Review, March April 2021. Quite recent. So persuading the unpersuadable. Lessons from science. Yeah, so scientific evidence would be there. So we would definitely learn a couple of things from this article. And the people who are able to sway Steve Jobs. So there is a very interesting example in this article. Steve Jobs, you would want to learn about his history, his way of working. He was not so easy to get convinced, and he held his own ideas and so on. So this article is going to reflect on the people who were able to even sway Steve Jobs, what were the techniques they were using and so on. So with some scientific evidence we would have that. So at the end of next 1.5 hours, by the time we close, you should have some techniques, some things which you can reflect on, how to persuade the unpersuadable. And then not all of them will maybe work in your own situation, and you would have to craft them looking at the type of people you would have to deal with in business, in international business management, because of the big scope and scale of businesses as we go international, and also in your general life. So the legend of Steve Jobs would be good to reflect on. Read a little bit on the history of Steve Jobs if you are not very familiar with his personality and the way he was leading. Is that he transformed our lives with the strength of his convictions. Right? So this is a very good start of the article. You would have to reflect that, you might see some of the dark side in the personality of Steve Jobs as you look at the history. But then people like him, the conviction part is also, we can't disregard it, because the person who would listen to every opinion and change the course of a direction, that is also not good enough, because then you don't reach anywhere. So that conviction you would want to think about. The key is his greatness, the story goes, was his ability to bend the world to his vision. So not to get persuaded easily, but to persuade other people. The reality is that much of Apple's success came from his teams pushing him to rethink his position. Not sure you are familiar with that or not, but that is the reality. And if you listen to his interviews and so on, you would very quickly realize, if you go on YouTube and search for his interviews and spend some time on that, you would realize that he definitely believed that it is not a one-man show. You have to work with other people, especially smart people and so on. If Jobs had not surrounded himself with people who knew how to change his mind, please pay attention to this very interesting point. If that was not true, or if that would not have happened, he might not have changed the world. And we might like him or we might not like him. That is different story. It's not about liking Steve Jobs or not liking him. One thing the world agrees, that he and his company has definitely done some things in technology which have changed the way people would do very many things. For example, iPods, the way the world listen to music, apps. You can Google the apps they came up with. Um, they really transformed the world in technology in many ways. But I would want you to reflect on these people who knew how to change his mind. People around him who knew how to change his mind. I was listening to one of his talks, and please reflect on this. He was saying that you have to surround yourself with uh, bright, smart people around yourself. Only then, whatever you are working is going to be a big success. If other people around you are not so much focused and smart as you are, then of course the quality of the product or service or whatever you are doing is going to get compromised. And then Steve Jobs said that um, uh, he said that Very interesting thing he said, and it's very close to my heart also, that if you are working with smart people, then it is not necessary that they will always agree with you, because they have their own intelligence. So they are going to many times not agree with you, and that is the time where you have to reflect and see what it's not about ego, or it is not about your idea. The focus should be on goals, and so that type of thinking, if you can reflect on that. And also, most important thing is to reflect on your own personalities, that how do you operate in these type of situations. uh, but let's move forward. For years, Jobs insisted he would never make a phone. Yeah. After his team finally persuaded him to reconsider, he banned outside apps. Yeah. It took another year to get him to reverse that stunt. Another year. Yes. Within 9 months, very interesting statistics are coming. The App Store had 1 billion downloads. 1 billion. Yeah. And a decade later, the iPhone had generated more than 1 trillion in revenues. And we know that the success of App Store and Apple and the things they make and so on. But I really want you to reflect on this, that first he never wanted to make a phone. And when his team persuaded him, he did not want to make apps. And it took a year for him to reverse that stance. Yeah, really, really some things to really spend time and reflect on and come back here. Conviction. Yeah, his convictions, the way he would want to think. So unless he's not really convinced that this is what needs to be done, and he's not someone who is going to agree very easily. Yeah. um, Almost every leader has studied the genius of Jobs, but surprisingly few, few have studied the genius of those who managed to influence him. And that is the reason I selected this article, that I want us, all of us, including myself, um, and you guys, all of us should have some type of that ability, that we can also influence other people around us in a good way, of course. As an organizational psychologist, I have spent time with a number of people who succeeded in motivating him to think again, and I have analyzed the science behind their technique. Yeah. And this is where interesting stuffs start coming. The bad news, and this is very important, please pay attention, is that plenty of leaders are so sure of themselves that they reject worthy opinions and ideas from others and refuse to abandon their own bad ideas. And you have to reflect, are you how open you are to new ideas. You have to now reflect on that, please. And I was reading some article, very interesting article, and it was saying, not this one, it was some other reading some time ago. I was looking at it, and it said that hold your strong opinions loosely. Hold your strong opinions loosely. You have strong opinions about different things, your sexual orientation, your religion, uh, things about your homeland, country, strongly, parents, emotionally involved things, anything you want to think about. uh, but you would have strong opinions on that. That would be your conviction. But the article said that hold them loosely. And by the end of this discussion, I hope you will be able to reflect on that a little bit as you are thinking on the things which you are looking at now. The good news is that it is possible to get even the most overconfident and stubborn people and disagreeable people to open their their mind. A growing body of evidence shows that personality traits are not necessarily consistent from one situation to the next. Please pay attention to this. Like extrovert and introvert, you might think that, oh, I'm introvert, and but if you look deeply, there are some situations where you are an extrovert, maybe where you are more comfortable, maybe with your friends or something. So it is not that you are introvert. In some situations, you are also extrovert, or vice versa. You might be extrovert, and in some situation, you are taking time to maybe say something which is coming to your mind, maybe because how other people would look at it, or how they will evaluate you, and so on. Yes. So these personality traits which we always think about, that okay, my personality is like this. The psychologists are saying that they can change, and they do change from one situation to the next. Think of the dominant manager who is occasionally submissive, and hyper competitive colleague who sometimes becomes cooperative, or the chronic procrastinator who finishes some projects early. What is happening there? Uh, every leader, every leader has an if then profile. And I would like to say, every human being, you can think the way you want, but the way I look at these things, I would say not just leader, every human being has an if then profile, a pattern of responding to particular scenarios in certain ways. If the dominant manager is interacting with a superior, then she becomes submissive. If the competitive colleague is dealing with an important client, then he shifts its cooperative mode. If the procrastinator has a crucial deadline coming up, then she gets her act together. And you have seen these things in your own self. All of us sometimes are, guilty of procrastinating things, and so on. So think about these things. Computer code is a string of if then commands. Humans are a lot messier, but we do have predictable if then responses. So this, they are saying that they can be predictable, which is very interesting. So you might want to think about it, that why they are saying that they can be predictable. On the other hand, it is very difficult to really understand human beings. Sometimes we don't even understand ourselves, if you ask me. But you think about this. Even the most rigid people flex at times, and even the most open minded have moments when they shut down. So, if you want to reason with people who seem unreasonable, yeah, if that is what you want to do, and this is very important, of course, we want to do this, pay attention. Pay deep attention to instances when they or others like them change their mind. Pay attention to that. You find people around you who are unreasonable. They should also be changing their mind in some situation. Pay attention to that. Where, what is, how to speak with them, what words to use, how to approach them. Um, uh, and in negotiations, there is one concept which is very close to my heart. You can agree or disagree, that is fine. The way I look at it, I believe that if the other party says no to your proposition, it is not the other party who is saying no. You have set it in the way which has helped them to say no. You need to come back, and you need to think that how you should make your pitch so the other party says yes. But you can agree or disagree with that, that is fine. Here are some approaches that can help you encourage a know it all to recognize when there is something to be learned, a stubborn colleague to make a U turn, and a person who is full of themselves to show humility, and a disagreeable boss to agree with you. So, this is the context, a little context I tried to make in the last 20 minutes. And now we would want to look at 4 5 things which can be done to persuade the unpersuasive. Yeah, so please reflect on these things. Ask a know-it-all to explain how things work. Yeah, you know it all right, no problem. Give them respect and ask them to, okay, write down step by step if you really know this thing without challenging their superiority. The first barrier to changing someone's view is arrogance, their own arrogance coming from different places. And if you reflect on what I said already, you might be able to pinpoint a couple of places where arrogance can come from. For example, past success and so on. We are all encountered, and we have all encountered leaders who are overconfident. They don't know what they don't know. So it is important to know what you know and what you don't know. If you call out their ignorance directly, they may get defensive. Please pay attention to this. You don't like something, that's okay. But you have to find the right words to give voice to your opinion. You are angry on some situation, you can make the point without getting showing very clearly that you are angry about it. Uh, some situations do require anger, but based on the way I look at it, they are far few, and we are just wasting our energy by getting angry with people who we can, by being nice also, we can get the thing done also. And reflect in your own life also. Have you encountered any experience where you there was someone, and even if they would have asked nicely with you, you would have done that thing anyways, but they were like asking like, do it like this and whatever, they are getting angry and whatever. So reflect on that. All of us have those type of experiences in our lives, and it's not just about work. You reflect in your life, your experiences. Yes, a better approach is to let them recognize the gaps in their own understanding. A better That would be the better approach. And let's look at some example and see, what they really mean. In a series of experiments, psychologists asked Yale students to rate their knowledge of how everyday objects such as television and toilets work. The students were surprisingly confident in their knowledge. Of course, they are coming from Yale, so it's one of the good universities in the world, so they were confident until they were asked to write out their explanation step by step. They were not, no one threatened their knowledge. They said, all right, you know it, that's fine, let's make a step by step approach of that. As they struggle to articulate how a TV transmits a picture and a toilet flushes, their overconfidence melted away. They suddenly realized how little they understood. Pay attention to this line. It is not that you changed their view or you persuaded the unpersuadable. It is that those people, they realized themselves, you did something which made them realized, not that you telling someone, you make the realization. So if I want you to study and I want you to go through the book, all the chapters, and prepare for MCQs for finals, and look at the recordings and do the coursework and all of those things which you have to do in your own time, of course. If I just say that, and I've already said it on RBLE, and just by saying, are you going to do it with as much interest? If I compare all of this, that I make you realize that how important it is, how important this course is, how important this coursework is, what is the importance of watching recordings where you are listening to point of views from European students in some questions they are answering. You are looking at international business management, and in the pre-recording you are listening to comments from European students. How do they think about different things? You know what you think, yes, but how the world thinks about that is important. If I make that realization in you, then you would automatically do those things, and I would not have to make a coursework around that, because the realization is in you, realization of anything. So this concept is very interesting, that instead of forcing other parties, For example, in international business management, where you are going to look at people from different backgrounds. Instead of forcing the thing on them, you make them realize somehow that this is how needs to be needs to be done. So the point then is that how to make that realization, and then every person is going to get that realization differently. You would have to experiment in your life these techniques and those things. Also, think about anything which you got realization about in your life. Did you get that realization right away, or it took time? It can be anything. It can be like a bad relationship. Did you realize that you are in a bad relationship right away, or it took time? Yeah. So you would always see that it always takes time. It is not that you close your eyes and open them and everything is clear. No, it takes time and some type of thinking and thought process. So realization takes time. So when you will be persuading the unpersuadable, it is going to take time. You would have to change your pitch. But that we don't do that. We make a pitch and the other person says no, and then we say, all right, it is not going to work. Like, let me ask you, is there anything which you tried 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times outside of the things which we do as a child, like walking or learning to cycle? That is different. We were children there, but as we are a little bit grown up, have you tried something again and again and again? Like, if this course is not a compulsory course for you, and let's say, God forbid, no one is going to fail, don't worry about that. But let me say that if someone fails, are you, and it is not a compulsory course, would you want to do it again? Maybe you will one time, and if you fail again, would you want to do it again? Like, how, the point is that how often you can fail and then do the thing again. Yeah, how often is that? Yeah. So yes, of course, if there is something which is you want, you are sure that this path is not for you, then it is different. But the point, underlying point I'm trying to make is that generally speaking, people are not easy in taking failures. They take failure and rejection, and then they say, all right, it is not going to work. You have seen that. uh, you just need to reflect. But then anyone who has done something worthwhile, they were not able to do it after one or two rejections. They have done, like, think about it, the person who Edison made the bulb, electric bulb, how many attempts you think he made before he was able to do a successful implementation? Or anything, any invention, anything worthwhile. So this realization is very interesting, is because it is going to take time. It is you, on one hand, I'm telling you that you have to make people realize, but I'm trying to make you think that realization is not going to happen. In some situations, it can really take years and years for the person to really realize that they were wrong, and then they will maybe come back to that. So you have to really think about uh, these things, and especially if you think about your own life, where you got realization, and how much of time after you got realization. Are you someone who realize like fast, very quick, like in 1 minute, 2 minute, 1 day, 2 day, or it takes time for you, like, to realize 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, a year, and then you look back and you say, oh, I was wrong, I should not have done it like that. Yeah. So if you can think about some experiences going back 1 year, 2 year, and you are saying now that, oh, I should have done it like that, but you did not do it like that at that time. So you are realizing after one year or 2 year or whatever is the time frame. So because it is very, like, it is person to person, it is going to vary. So please reflect on this. Trying to explain something complex can be humbling experience, even for someone like Steve Jobs. A few years ago, I met Wendell Weeks, the CEO of Corning, which makes the glass for the iPhone. We spoke about iPhone and glass and Samsung in the last article also. Please look at that recording also. The relationship began when Jobs reached out to him, frustrated that the plastic face of the iPhone prototype kept getting scratched. Jobs wanted strong glass to cover the display, but his team at Apple had sampled some of Corning's glass and found it too fragile. Weeks explained that he could think of 3 ways to develop something better. I don't know that I had make the glass for you. Yeah, the Weeks told Jobs. But I had be very happy to talk with any member of your team who are technical enough to talk this thing through. And how did Steve Jobs responded? I am technical enough. Yeah. He said, talk with me. It's a very interesting example to look at. Yeah. So when Weeks flew out to Cupertino, it's the name of a place, Jobs tried to tell him how to make the glass. Instead of arguing, Weeks let him explain the way his preferred method would work. As Jobs started talking, it became clear to both of them that he did not fully understand how to design glass that would not shatter. That was the opening Weeks needed. Yeah, so making that realization. He walked to the whiteboard and said, let me teach you some science and then we can have a great conversation. And Jobs agreed, and Weeks eventually sketched out the glass composition. They ended up doing it Weeks' way. The way Weeks were talking about the glass, Jobs agreed, but not right away. Yeah, you have to think about how this thing happened. The day the iPhone launched, Weeks received a message from Jobs that is now framed in his office. We could not have done it without you. Inverted commas. Yeah. It you have to, when people say something, and the underlying point in all this is the way I look at it, and of course you will look at it differently, everyone will look at it differently, is that when, and I'm reiterating the point, is that when someone says something which you did not want to hear, you can say that it is their fault, but if you ask my personal opinion, it is your fault. You made the pitch in the wrong way. Yes, there are some people who are never going to be with you on what you are saying, but that never is not going to come that easily. Like for most of the most of the times when people are not agreeing with us, we did not ask in the nice enough way, in the right way in which they will say yes. This was the first point, very interesting. Let's look at the second issue with the article in discussion. Let a stubborn person seize the reins. A second obstacle to changing people's opinion is stubbornness. Yeah, they are stubborn. Interactable people see consistency and certainty as virtues. Once made up, their minds seems to be set in stone, but their views become more pliable if you hand them a chisel. In a classic experiment, psychologists surveyed students regarding their beliefs about control, and this is very very interesting point here. And as I look at it, I ask you that how do you view this? Did they use their success and failure as determined primarily by internal forces such as effort and choice, or by external forces such as luck and fate? And this is such a important question, which everyone need to ask this question from themselves, like what do you think? Are you someone who thinks that when things go wrong it is because of some internal thing, which maybe you did not do it wrong or do it in the right way, maybe you did not put a lot of effort, or maybe you made the wrong choice Is it that when you fail or things don't go the way you want to do, or when you fail you say, oh, it is some external thing, it was my fate or my destiny or my luck, I'm not lucky enough or whatever. So how do you, when things don't go the way you want, how do you look at it? Do you blame the internal locus of control? That is what they call in the psychology classes, if you would take some course or maybe any basic psychology class, is locus of control. Where is the locus of control of this personality? Is it internal, when they do something, when things don't go the way they want, do they look within, or they start blaming outside outside world? This did not happen, that is why I did not find the job. The interviewer was not good enough. The person who did the course, who was course facilitator, they were not good enough, that is why I failed. uh, or the institution was not good enough, or the people at work are not good. Yeah, outside. Or it is internal, like when people at work are not behaving the way you want, you say, oh, all right, this is what they are saying, how I can reframe myself, what I can change in my attitude, which will maybe help me change them, maybe, we don't know. And then remember, it is not one time effort. You might try something, it might fail. You might try something again, it might fail, 5 6 7, it takes time and dedication. And that type of personality who is open to this type of experimentation. But one thing I can definitely tell you from my own, the little experience I have, is that if you have this type of internal locus of control and you are looking within, that what I can do better, how I can do the thing from my side in a better way, what happens is that you definitely improve yourself. Forget about the outcome. We don't know how other people will react, but definitely you improve. You improve. Yeah, you would improve. Yeah. But think about these things. Everyone have their own opinion, and the way I conduct my sessions or whatever, I don't I don't like that I say something and that should be the final word. That is not how it should be, and it will never be like that, I hope also. I'm just sharing the ideas which are coming in my mind. You have to think about them and then take what fits in your situation and in your experiences. Stubborn people tend to believe in internal control. They think outcomes can be subject to their will. Next, the students evaluated a proposed change to their university grading system. One third read a lightly persuasive argument that the new system had been widely accepted at other schools and appeared to be one of the best ever used. Another third read a more forceful argument. This was such a good procedure that they would have to rate it highly. And the final third got no persuasive argument. All the students then rated the new proposal on a scale from 1 to 10. Yeah, this is the experiment they did. And their reaction depended on their belief about control. So is it internal or external? And if you really reflect on it, any in your life, you can look at your life. All situations depend on your locus of control, your belief about control, your belief. No matter what happens in your life, how do you look at? Do you put blame on destiny, fate, and luck? And please, I'm not saying that there is nothing like destiny, there is nothing like fate. Definitely believe in god and destiny and those type of things, and religion, they are important. There is no second view, at least from my side, on that. I believe on all those things, and day of judgment, and all whatever the scriptures are saying. And most of you also believe in that. But still, in our day-to-day activities, how we look at the locus of control, like, is it how we can improve that, that really can make a significant uh, dent on how we would proceed after any setback, any bad thing happens, and how we, what we will do. It would be dependent on that a lot. And then they explain it in people who favored external control. Both the light and forceful arguments generated enthusiasm about the new system. uh, they were comfortable changing their minds in the face of outside influence. Yeah, and they were able to change just the locus of control depending on what. So you have to now think, are you, it is easy for you to make changes in make are you comfortable with changes, and like how stubborn, although it is not a good word, but how stubborn you are, like or you are like flexible, easy go type of person, or what is, or in which situations you are stubborn, or in which situations you are comfortable to change, and so on. Those are the things which requires good reflection from your side. People who favored internal control were unmoved by the light argument and were moved in the other direction by the forceful argument. In other words, when someone tried hard to alter their thinking, they snapped back like a rubber band. Yeah. And this is what we experience many times. We give some point of view and the other person just snap back to their situation, and we say, oh, the other person is stubborn, or they are not listening, or they don't understand. Very rarely people would say, oh, maybe I did not say choose the right words for them to react like this. Maybe maybe it was not clear to them that what I meant really meant, because we can mean something in our in our mind, but the other person might interpret it very differently. Like right now, whatever I have been saying in the last 40-45 minutes, are you interpreting the same things which I am saying, which are going in my head? Are you 100% interpreting the same things? Agree or not agreeing is a different thing. I'm just talking about understanding. Are you understanding the things the way I am trying to explain? No, that is not going to happen. If I'm thinking that, no, that is, it's not possible. You have your own belief system, and you would look at the same thing with your own lens. Yeah, so these are some things which you would want to reflect, like why the other person snapped back, what really happened. Yeah, yeah. A solution to this problem, worth looking at, comes from a study of Hollywood screenwriters, those who pitched fully formed concepts. And in this section, they would essentially explain you that they did some experimentation, that the writers who made the full form of the final story and then they told it to the Hollywood executives, they were not really very successful, because the executives would like to shape the stories the way they would want, the production houses and so on. But when they would give them some ideas to look at, and then they would give some ideas and see, which one suits you, what works, what does not work, and then work together on some idea that was sometime more workable. This is interesting example. Not long ago, I was introduced to the former Apple engineer named Mike Bell, who knew how to play catch with Steve Jobs. In the late 1990s, Bell was listening to music on his Mac computer and getting annoyed at the thought of lugging the device with him from room to room, when he suggested building a separate box to stream audio. And Jobs laughed at him. Right? This was an idea by Mike Bell. Yeah. When Bell recommended streaming video to, Jobs fired back. And look at this, what Honorable Steve Jobs said. It's in inverted commas. Who the F would ever want to stream video? And if you look at today's world, it's all about streaming videos. We are streaming video. right now as we are speaking. And this is what, but the important point is that how did Bell then convinced him? That is very interesting. Bell learned to plant the seeds of a new concept, hoping that Jobs would warm to it and give it some sunlight. So how in this section you would want to reflect that how you ask, your even the tone of your language, your words, your tone, your voice, the choice of words, these things really really matter. And research shows that asking questions instead of giving answers can overcome people's defensiveness. Yeah, so you are not telling your boss what to think or do. You are giving her some control over the conversation and inviting her to share her thoughts. Question like, what if, could we do it like this? That what that do is that spark creativity by making people curious about what's possible. And then like 18 friends are right now in this room. If I ask some question and I say, okay, how should we do it, how should we go about this, 18 different ideas can come from that. It's creativity. Yeah, instead of me telling you that okay, do it like this, then in international business management maybe it is not going to work like that, because people, when they are involved in the decision making, as we were talking about decision making in the last article also on Tuesday, uh, if people are involved in the decision making, they are, the ownership comes there, and then they are, generally speaking, of course, they might want to work a little bit harder on the concept because there is ownership, because uh, they did it. But again, just like we were discussing earlier, like when you would be doing this, all of this, and asking questions like what if and can we do it like this, and the other person would say, oh no, this is what the, look at, this is not no easy language Jobs is using. He said, who the f, and he's not telling it to any layman. He's telling it to Mike Bell, who is coming with the idea of streaming and many things which Apple did and made a lot of money. He's not a ordinary engineer. Yeah, he knows what he's talking about. And so when someone is going to tell you at work and you give some idea and the other party says, who the f is going to, what a f idea it is, how are you going to respond? Yeah, how are you going to respond? And even if you are doing these things, like you are asking questions and you are saying, okay, can we do it like this, can, how time consuming it is. Time consuming, it would take time, effort. Yeah, but these are the, this is linked with team building, teams, groups. This is how teams, and especially in international, as the business goes out of the local markets and you are dealing with, you want to expand your market share and so on, you have to come up with these type of ideas and so on. So think about these things. One day Bell casually mentioned, and this will take you through how he was able to convince. One day Bell casually mentioned that since no one would have a Mac in every room, streaming on other devices was going to be a big deal. Then instead of pressing his argument, he asked, what if we built a box that would let you play the content? And Jobs was still skeptical, but as he imagined the possibilities, he started to take some ownership of the idea and eventually gave Bell the green light. I knew I had succeeded when he was arguing my point and proposing the project I had pitched him. Bell recalls, by the end, he was telling people to get out of my way. So the same Jobs, which was saying who the F is going to work on your idea, it's not good idea. He's by the end he's saying that other people he's helping him with the idea. Yeah. So initially Jobs did not like Bell's idea, but the way Bell approached, he did not get disappointed, or he did not started crying that oh my god, or he did not started looking for jobs elsewhere or whatever. He just changed his approach and gave it time and made Jobs realize, again it's a realization, that what do you think, what this is, what do you think about this, what, let him make do the thinking. And with this technique, Bell, Jobs did not like the idea first, but then later he is telling other people, Jobs is telling other people that get out of the way of Bell, let him do what he wants, if any there was any critique. Yeah. So this was the second idea which you can use. But I want to say that the people who like you, yeah. So the people who like Billani, Matthew, the people who like Matthew, they would like Matthew anyways. So what did Matthew do to get liked? People just like Matthew for whatever reason, the way of speaking or the tone or whatever. Yeah, but the credit to Matthew would be when someone don't like them, but they do something to get likable, like you are changing someone's opinion about yourself. So if you like me, what did I do? You just like me. Maybe you just like me for whatever reason is in your head, or you dislike me for whatever reason you have in your head. I did not do maybe anything, but you like or dislike based on some things. Yeah. But but if you like me, what if you like me, there is no, it's not always about that something which I did. And for example, you look at some person and you start liking them from a distance. You never spoke with them, you never had conversation, but you just like them for the way they look maybe. So what is the credit I'm trying to say of that person? It's just the looks. But if the person can change the other person opinion, like you did not like some person, but when you started talking with them, you started engaging with them, the things they said, how caring they are, how knowledgeable they are, over a period of time they were able to change the way you look at them. So essentially what I am trying to say is that people who like you, they like you. But how to make the people like you who don't? That is the point. How to make the people like you who don't? They don't like you at work or school or wherever. What are the techniques? And this is this Bell, how in this one he is making him realize the realization factor and making him think, Jobs think. Yeah. So I hope you will think about this. Next point, the third one is the find the right way to praise the narcissist. Yeah, people who are full of themselves. A third hurdle in the way of changing minds is narcissism. These type of leaders believe they are superior and special, and take kindly they don't take kindly to being told they are wrong. But with careful framing, and this is what I mean when I say your tone, your selection of words, all of these things we have been talking about, careful framing, you can coax them towards acknowledging that they are flawed and fallible. It's often said that bullies and narcissists have low self-esteem. And this is very interesting point, because especially for bullies, like the children who make trouble in schools and so on, people think that it's generally low self-esteem, and in some situation that is true also, but the research is painting a different picture. These type of people actually have high but unstable self-esteem. So it is more of instability, up and down, and so on. They crave status and approval and become hostile when their fragile egos are threatened, when they are insulted, rejected, or shamed. By appealing to these desire to be admired, they can counteract their knee-jerk tendency to reject a difference of opinion on criticism. And this is, you have to be careful about that. Whenever you're going to criticize someone, especially someone in some type of position over you, or they have some control, you have to be mindful about all this. Indeed, studies in both the US and China have shown that narcissist leaders are capable of demonstrating humility. They can believe they are gifted while acknowledging their imperfection. To nudge them in that direction, affirm your respect for them. Affirmation. Yeah, affirmation. And in this section they are giving an example where there was a conference at which Steve Jobs was there, and in the Q&A session, one of the stakeholders said that this is what he said to Jobs, that it is sad and clear that on several counts you have discussed you don't know what you are talking about. So someone in the conference is saying you don't know what you are talking about. The Jobs is saying something and say you don't know what you are talking about. Yeah, you don't know what you are talking about. It can be very, like, for a person with ego, it can be very problematic. Just imagine, like, someone should do this experiment just for fun, like, uh, maybe you can turn on your mic someone and you can say, well, Tashfin, you don't know what you are talking about. and see the reaction, like what would I say, what would a normal human being would say. But the point is that you can say these things. You can tell someone that they don't know what you are talking about, but the way they say it, and this next section explains that the way he said it to him, and how he worded, and this is worth looking at. You might assume that Jobs went on attack, got defensive, or maybe even threw the man out of the room. Instead of showing humility, uh, this is what he said in response. Jobs said, one of the hardest things when you are trying to affect change is that people like this gentleman are right in some areas. And then he said, I readily admit that there are many things in life. Jobs is saying that I don't have the faintest idea when I'm talking about. So I apologize for that. We will find the mistakes. We will fix them. And then the crowd applauded that. But the thing is that before he said that you don't know what you are talking about, that guy, he also said something else. And that is what you might want to reflect on. He kicked his comment off with a compliment. So before that, he said, Mr. Jobs, you are a bright and influential man. And the audience laughed, and Jobs replied, here it comes. But when you are saying that you are bright and confident, influential man, you don't just say it if you don't mean it, because the people will know that you can praise someone to get your way out, but people will know that is it something which you really mean, or you are just saying it. As this story shows, a clash of acclaim can be a powerful antidote to a narcissist insecurity. Not all displays of respect are equally effective, though. Not all displays of respect. It doesn't help to bury criticism between two compliments. You start with a compliment and then you go all out on the person and then you make a compliment. Don't think that it will always work out. The feedback sandwich does not taste as good as it looks. Uh, and this feedback, I would definitely want to look at maybe at least some article where we can reflect on that, how to give feedback. What is the right way to give feedback? Because people ask for feedback all the time. I'm sure your people ask from you. If you have little brothers, sisters, your friends, what do you think about this? People ask you, right? So what is the right way to give feedback? At work, people ask. At school, people ask. What is the right way to give feedback? And what is the right way to take feedback? If you are asking someone to take feedback, how to take it, what to say, what not to say. Definitely good thought here. So I will definitely ensure that we can look at some article on that later, some in one of the meetings. The key is to praise people in an area different from the one in which you hope to change their mind. If you are trying to get a narcissist leader to rethink a bad choice, it is a mistake to say you admire their decision making skills, because you are going to target some bad choice they make. So if you say that your decision making skills are very good, it's not going to work. You are maybe better off commending their creativity. So when you will commend their creativity, like you can be creative, you can think of different type of situations. So if this choice is bad, you can think about some other choice because you are creative. So this is very interesting point to um, reflect on. But in all this, as you will read this section, uh, be again, this is reiteration of the point. Be careful about your words. You can always say sorry, you can always apologize, um, but be careful about your think. There's a common saying, think before you speak. Think before. And with our loved ones and the people we are close to, sometimes we don't think about these things because we take them for granted and so on. So if you have made those type of some mistakes with your loved ones, with your family, friends, whatever, at work, wherever, and the side note is that you can let them know that you are maybe sorry and you did not mean it in that harsh way. Yeah. Reflect on that, because that is the relationship building. And in international business management, if you did not reflect it on how to build relationship, and if your own relationships in your private personal lives, they are not good, then which international business management we are talking about? But that is my own personal take. You can agree or disagree, I'm fine with that. Next one, disagree with the disagreeable. How to do that? Very interesting one. And this is the last one, and then I hope you are also thinking about, because remember the article is how to persuade the unpersuadable. So at the end of the session, please do give your own pointers also, that based on your opinion, what do you think, how to persuade in your situation, in your circumstances, what works for you, which techniques are worthy of consideration, and and so on. Uh, a final impediment to persuasion is disagreeableness, a trait often expressed through argumentativeness, like people who argue. Disagreeable people are, and argue, person who argue is not necessarily disagreeable also. Maybe they are just trying to understand. So you have to think about that also. Disagreeable people are determined to crush the competition, and when you urge them to reevaluate their strategy, that's what you become. However, if you are willing to stand up to them rather than back down, you can sometimes gain the upper hand. but this is sometimes, not always. Yeah, it is good to stand stand up, but sometimes it works, sometimes it does not work. So always look at how to deal with the situation if the situation goes wrong. That is very important, because disagreeable people are energized by conflict. They don't always want you to bend to their will right away. They are eager to duck it out. When researchers studied how CEOs decided, and this is very interesting because all of us, every now and then, we have to give some type of job interviews and so on. CEOs decided which executives to nominate for board seats at other companies. It turned out that candidates who had a habit of arguing before agreeing with their bosses were more likely to get the nod. It showed that they were not yes men or yes women, but were willing to fight for their ideas and change their own minds. Yeah, very interesting. In the 1980s at Apple, the leaders of the Mac team gave an award to one person a year who had the temerity to challenge Steve Jobs. They had the courage to challenge Steve Jobs, to challenge. Yeah. So they would give award to one person a year. Would you give award to a person who challenge you? That is the question to reflect on. How do you view criticism in your own life? How do you view when people challenge your position, your what you are saying? They challenge, they say, well, this is not good. How do you go about that? You need to learn that skill. And it is especially important, guys, in the situation where if you want to be innovative, if you want to try out new things, if you want to experiment in your business or in your life, if you are not on the status quo, you are going to do different things, and people generally oppose different things. When a thing is done in a different way, the first reaction is to target it. That is the first reaction of human beings, because it is new. We don't like new things, generally speaking, because it creates fear. Fear is created because we are not familiar with the thing. Yeah. But if you are going to do innovation, bring in new ideas and expand in international markets, and people are going to challenge you because you are experimenting. They will say, oh, this is not going to work. What the f, in the words of Steve Jobs? They are going to tell you that. You should be ready with that. But if you that is if your thing. So this is the point. Please reflect on this. Never fear that what would happen if you will go wrong. Of course, do your homework and do analysis and all of that. You are doing, for example, in a launch of a product or service in international market. Of course, you are going to do the prerequisites and all the things which you study in a class of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial activity, or a class like this. But after that, you never worry that what would happen if it goes wrong, generally in life. Always think that what would happen if it works out? What is the impact it will create if it works out? So if from the position of fear, if you are working on anything from the position of fear, what you are doing, your true personality is not coming out. Your true self is, you won't be able to connect with the market, with your audience. That is not going to happen. If you ask me, this is the way I look at it. So yes, of course, fear is you can argue that fear is a very good characteristics. It has helped us to stay in the world. We should be fearful of because of our fear we can save ourselves also. otherwise otherwise, if you don't have fear of anything, that is also not good maybe. But don't start with the position of fear. You have exam and you are afraid of the exam now. So then how will you? It will also help you study, but it will also give you stress. So yes, you will study because of the fear, but what of the negative stress which you are getting? You don't get fear. You say, all right, this is the exam I have. I'm going to do it. I can do it. That type of don't get fear. A correct amount of fear is fine. Like, public speaking, people are fearful. So before little nervousness is okay. But the but that fear, too much fear, is maybe not good. You reflect in your own time. But the essential question is, would you give award to the to the person who would challenge you? Steve Jobs did. Yeah, reflect on that. And this line is very, very beautiful line. What a beautiful line it is. Pay attention. Eventually, Jobs promoted each winner to run a key division of the company. So he award the people who challenges them. Of course, it is not just a challenge. They challenge them and then they make the points, and then, of course, he's open to new ideas and he agrees. And then if he sees the potential, he forgets that these are the people who challenged him. He forgets about. It's very hard. It's very hard. It's very hard. But this is the way to, and that is why Harvard Business Review is publishing on Steve Jobs, is publishing on Apple. That is why in Jamaica we are discussing this article, because he did this thing. He did not make it a personal thing, personal affair. But very easy to say it in an environment like this, in the real world. For you, for me, for all of us, it is very difficult, because when people challenge us, challenge our approach, challenge our thinking, the way we want to do something, when people challenge us, we don't like it, of course. But the point is that never make it personal. If there is anything which people challenge you, and you look at the reevaluate the situation, and if you think that okay, let's agree with the other party, no problem. Don't just say something, and then if you really think that what you have said is the final word and this is how things should be, then it is different. Fine, go ahead. But if you are experimenting and maybe you are trying to see how different things work, and you look at the overall situation, speak with some people, take some viewpoints, and then reevaluate the situation and come back, no problem. Don't make it a ego type of thing. People who I've seen in life, if you people who make it to the ego, they don't really go far. They are thinking about these small irrelevant things all the time in their head, and wasting their time and energy. In the recent study of ideas pitched by junior people on a healthcare team, the vast majority were initially rejected by senior leaders. The 24% that make it to implementation did so because their proponents kept fighting for them by repeating the pitches, refining and repeating the pitches. You refine, you repeat, then refine. Nothing to get disheartened. What is the problem? You will, after graduation, you will take interviews in different companies. You get rejected. What is the problem? You did not fail. They shortlisted you. They asked you to come for interview. That is your success. They did not shortlist everyone. They shortlisted you. You went for the interview. You had the experience of being interviewed. You know what type of questions that company asks. Next time when you will be in a similar situation, you would know that what do they ask. Generally, you would prepare. Even if you fail in that, you failed, but you did not fail. And what is this? This is locus of control. How you are viewing the situation. Well, there's nothing to really. You might fail again, no problem. 2, 3, 5, 10 times you fail. Let's say you fail in ten interviews. You fail 10 interviews. Why to get what? There is nothing to worry about. Maybe interviewing is not your thing. Maybe you need to learn how to answer to those questions. Ask around. Give voluntary interviews to other people. Ask them what am I doing wrong? Make yourself open to that. And why do you really need a job? And why do you really want to go to an interview and have a 9 to 5 job? Why that thing is your like primary focus? If it is not working, you become entrepreneur. There are so many things you can do in life. So this is what is locus, but again, easy to say these things. There different people come from different, but what I'm trying to say that keep on refining. That is what I'm saying, and keep on repeating, no matter what it is. And don't expect that you will do something for the first time and you will be a success. That is not how it is. In international business management, you are many times you are going to you're, you would have to relaunch the product. There are many. You just have to run a Google search, the products which failed in international market, and you will see. Sometimes the product is perfectly fine, but the timing is not good. Yeah, one example is selfie stick, which all of us use. If not all of us, at least we are familiar with selfie sticks. But think about the history. When was the selfie stick was introduced? Yeah, just run a Google search. It's years and years and years ago it was introduced, but that time was not right. It did not came in the market. But when the time was, so many different things are there at play. Yeah, and what failure. I would also like to do some article on failure also, because Apple, any big company, think about Apple, think about any company you like. Pepsi, I like Pepsi. Which company do you like? You like Porsche, you like any company you like. Porsche, any company. Honda, Toyota, whatever company you like. In makeup, in any industry. Right? Do you think that all of their initiatives are successful? Is what you are thinking? You are thinking that whatever XYZ company is, all the things they do, that company comes out with, they are a success. Do you think that? Please rethink. It is not like that. Majority of the projects fail for any company. For any company, if they don't come in, it's just if they are launching 10 projects, more should pass. That is what it is. And you can do the research. And if you find any company which always succeeded in all the projects, please write me an email. Let me know about that company. I would like to read about that company. Correct me if I'm wrong. That is no problem. But based on the limited reading I have or exposure I have, nothing like that. Or a human being. Is there any human being who is always successful in all spheres of life? No. Yes. So it is all about refining, repeating. Yeah, but choose your battles with with knowledge. It is not that in all the things in life you can refine, and you have limited time, you have limited energy, limited resources, so you have to look at that also. When Apple's engineers brought up the idea of making a phone, Jobs uh, com- compiled a list of reasons why it would not work. This is very interesting. We spoke earlier that initially Honorable Steve Jobs was not into making a phone for Apple, and he made a list that these are the things where Apple phone is not going to work. One was that smartphones were for the pocket protector crowd. His engineers agreed, but they challenged him. If Apple made a phone, how beautiful and elegant could it be? Aesthetics. And of course, you would agree that they make beautiful and elegant phones. Yeah. And they did not tell him that we need to make it or whatever. It's a question. Creativity on is challenging through the gates of opening Steve Jobs' creativity, asking them, "What do you think it will be? Don't you think it will be very beautiful or whatever?" Yeah. They also tapped the competitive energy he felt towards Microsoft. You should read about Microsoft and Apple and Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and other people who are working with Steve Jobs in Apple and the history of Apple. You should spend some time reading it. Then you would enjoy when you will know the background, you would enjoy these lines more. Would not there be a Windows phone eventually? And this is way back the engineers are thinking when and Steve Jobs has said no, phone is not for us. They are thinking Windows would make phone eventually. What do you think? Yeah, Jobs is intrigued, but he still not was not sold. Tony Fadell, the inventor of the iPod, if you would do some research, iPod really changed many things in technology. And a co-creator of the iPhone told me that people had to work as a group, not simply in one meeting, but possibly over weeks. Over weeks when they are talking with Steve Jobs on these issues. Over weeks, they have to get him to change his mind or to see things from another angle. They were smart people around him. He would not just say, okay, yes. He would say, no, I don't think it is going to work. Why do you think it like that? He would reason out with them. They would challenge him. And this article does not mention this, but when you will read the details, Steve Jobs would easily fire you, very easily. He would not care how smart you are. You make some mistake, which he thinks was not a genuine mistake. It was some blunder, and you are gone. And he has made many people go. You should spend some time in understanding his personality. Definitely should spend some time. In the case of the iPhone, this argument continued for many months, 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, many months. We should make iPhone or no? Was not convinced. Yeah. Fadell and his engineers chipped away at the resistance by building early prototypes in secret, showing Jobs demos and refining their design. So you would have to think that what type of people were surrounding him, that I think uh, is very important. uh, Please refrain from creating WhatsApp uh, groups. Please don't talk about these things in the chat. Please focus on what is happening in the discussion. Yes. Eventually, one big objection remained. The cell phone carriers controlled the network and they would force Apple to make a subpar product. Yeah, and in this following section, you will see that how they were able to convince Steve Jobs about this. How they were able to convince. What were the things they did? Um, like he had issues that the careers would not agree with the product, and then they said that Jobs, you could not make them agree. You could talk with them and uh, maybe uh, maybe maybe yes, if we had a powerful enough device, Fedel said, he could get them to sign up to all of these terms that would remove all of those obstacles. Yeah, if that is possible uh, or uh, or or not. Yes. So you would want to think about that. Jobs saw the potential and ran with the idea, winning that battle. Steve totally reset the relationship with the career's former Palm CEO and Handspring co-founder Donna told the author, "I always felt that this was his biggest achievement." Yeah. So in the end, this is the thinking. Um, so very interesting example to think about. Um, this this idea is very interesting if you would want to think about newfound openness, but also with great determination to hire people ready to challenge him and help him overcome his own worst instincts. Yeah, this openness they are talking about, determination to hire people ready to challenge him. Yeah, would you hire in your business, would you hire people who would challenge you, or you would want people who would say yes to you, yes man type of thing? Yes. So generally people don't like people who are going to challenge them. Yeah. But now think about the personality, overall personality of Steve Jobs and his company, and how he would want to work on different things. And more importantly, think about the other people who are working around him, who would challenge him, and he would then reflect on what they are saying, and then don't let his ego come too much in the way. Yes, in the earlier days, and you can read in this area, you can read that yes, in the early days he did had some problems, and you would know that he came out of the company also. He was uh, let go by the board at that time, and even the ownership issues of Apple and all those things, those happened. You can read the history there. uh, but then he came back and he realized that it is about idea. The idea should win at the end of the day. It is about realizing that organizations need strong visionary executives like Jobs, but they also need employees like we spoke about, Tony and Mike Bell, and they need suppliers like Weeks. Remember the Weeks example we gave? The guy who came with the conversation about making the glass front for the glass screen uh, for Apple, and stakeholders like the audience members who stood up to complain at Apple's developer conference. Yeah, that was the guy that you don't know, who said to Steve Jobs, "You don't know what you are talking about." Yes, people who know how to effectively counteract bosses and colleagues who tend towards overconfidence, stubbornness, and they are stubborn and they are disagreeable. How to deal with those type of situations? Yeah. So I hope this article gave you some ideas on that. This is very interesting. In a turbulent world, success depends not just on cognitive horsepower but also on cognitive flexibility, mental flexibility. How flexible you are, mentally flexible. Yeah, it's not just about the intelligence. You would have intelligence. Steve Jobs definitely had intelligence, but he also had some form of flexibility. If and when he was persuaded in the right way, with the right tone, right words. Yeah, when leaders lack the wisdom to question their convictions, you can think about this. This article was written by Adam Grant, one of the very good authors. You should read his book, Think Again. You would learn a thing or two. These were some of the ways which could definitely help us, and the examples are given in the article, in persuading the unpersuadable, people who are maybe full of themselves because of whatever reason. They think that they have what it takes. So these were some ideas, but more importantly, we still have 10-15 minutes. So what do you think, in these type of situations, if you have to persuade the unpersuadable, people who don't agree with you, what are the techniques you think works, and um, what worked for you. If there is any example or something you can think about, that would be uh, that would be very good. Uh, maybe show them that what would happen if they agree, like show them the success. People are, as I was mentioning earlier, that for change they are a little bit tight towards change. So show them that what would happen if they agree, if the change which you are trying them to be to persuade them for some type of change, if that works, what would come. And yes, there are always some type of risks and uh, some obstacles. How to minimize those risks, that is also important. And after doing all of these things, this is how I am thinking about it. After all this, you might fail, you might still fail, you might still fail in persuading the unpersuadable. uh, you would try all these things, and all the things which are coming in your mind, uh, you would still be able to, maybe, you would still maybe not able to persuade them. But if the cause is very close to your heart and you really believe in what you are trying to trying to say or do, uh, don't give up. Just come back, re-reflect, revisit how you approach the situation, what you did, what you did not. Reflect on that. Look at other people's experience in the same situation. Look at other people, how they were able to persuade that person who is unpersuadable, who is the person who is not listening to you, a person who is disagreeing with you. That same person must be listening to someone. That same person must be agreeing with some other person. Find out who that person is and how they approach that person. What is the right way to approach that person? For everyone it is different. Everyone can agree with what you are saying if you approach them rightly. But again, this thinking that if people don't agree with you, it is your fault. And I should not say fault. If people don't agree with you, you need to change your strategy. Now this mindset which I shared with you earlier, it comes from internal locus of control. So because you think internally, you are thinking that, okay, this person said no, let me, he did not agreed with my idea, so let me rephrase it, reword it, whatever I need to do, let me reword it and come back to the person. Yes. So you, this is internal locus of control. If I had external locus of control, and many of you might have external locus of control, so you would not agree with my statement at all. When I say that if someone says no to your idea and come back and redo your thinking and go back again, you would not agree if you have external locus of control, because then you would say that the other person is just stubborn, they just don't understand, and you will say I don't have time to explain them, and you would have impatience and all of those things. And both control the thinking or the locus about both ways is correct. It's I should not say correct, it is like it is dependent on so many things, so many variables, how you are brought up, what are your experiences, and so on. And in the end, I mentioned this earlier also, but just to reiterate the point, and especially, the especially after the pandemic, it has affected so many things in our life, and so on. It is definitely going to change the way we work and so on. So uh, you might try to persuade people in job interviews. You might already have a job and you are trying to persuade other people, and maybe you are not enjoying it, or whatever is the circumstances. um, I would like to close by saying that think about some type of entrepreneurial activity, and this is international business management. So whatever idea you have, start it. Maybe you do some type of, maybe you can do some type of, make some art or do something, whatever you do. Make a website, launch it, start talking about it, uh, start sharing your idea about the launch with other people. Uh, if you can combine like-minded people, do it with them. If you don't find like-minded people, that is fine. Do it yourself. Launch a website, and that website can, if it is successful in the local market, that can take you to international business. And you would when you would, based on my travel experience and so on, there are many things which Jamaica has which can be offered to the world. You just need to start it. So think about some type of entrepreneurial. Don't just think about as you are doing this course and you are reflecting and the coursework. That is how I have form the coursework for you, so you reflect and think about all these things. So you would you would want to you would want to um, you would want to um, reflect on what are the ideas you have, and what are the on some idea, something, whatever you have, hone it a little bit and don't worry about the failure. Take the risks which you can. Of course, don't put all your eggs in one basket and not do a big investment, and if you lose, then it is a big loss for you. Of course, don't do that, but take a little bit of risk and launch some type of product or service. When you will be looking at the recordings, you will, I don't know if it was captured in the recording or not, but recently um, I was interacting with people from participants from Belgium, uh, and in the conversations it came that there was one student, one participant who bought a 3D printer, and he is making pots using 3D printer, and he's thinking how he can improve it and maybe start selling it. So he's a student like you, same age group, 20, 21, 22, something like that, you know. So uh, this this stop focusing on job. Job is important, yes, maybe you can start with that and gain experience, but start thinking about some form of entrepreneurial activity, international business, your own business ideas, and put them into practice and see where it takes you. So these were some thoughts about persuading the unpersuadable, but you this all this discussion would be incomplete if you don't put these things into practice and see how they work. And they might not work in the first go, you might fail couple of times, nothing to worry about. Keep playing with this type of information and the other information you can find on this type of topic, and learn the skill of influencing other people in the right way, because this will help you in business management, in international business management, and also in life also. Thank you.